shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam.
Ya'aseh shalom,
Shalom
shalom aleinu
aleinu
ve'al kol Yisrael.
ve'al kol
Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom,
Ya'aseh shalom
shalom aleinu
ve'al kol Yisrael.
Ya'aseh
Shalom,
ya'aseh shalom,
shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom,
ya'aseh shalom,
ya'aseh shalom ve'al kol ha'olam.
שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי 6 ימים עשה השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות מרית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
שבת ויהי נפש.
שבת ויהי נפש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות מרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I like to give the disclaimer when I'm leading services without Rabbi Flip that I will do my best to make the slides match what we're doing, and one only knows what might happen. Day to day, one only knows what might happen tech-wise here at Congregation Micah. I think we have a tech ghost. But that's my way of saying I'm going to try really, really hard. And the next thing I want to say is that we are very excited to celebrate the bat mitzvah of Nico Manis this weekend. And we are going to invite Nico and her mom Karen and her grandmother Regina forward, who does not look like she's her grandmother, but maybe more like her aunt, to light our Shabbat candles this evening. So we'll take a moment before we sing Shalom Aleichem together to greet one another. So if you're sitting near someone that you know or don't know, maybe you wish them a Shabbat Shalom at this moment, you can get up and say hello to someone. Peter here is sitting all in a section by himself. So this whole section is going to come say hi to Peter. But we're going to take a moment now to greet each other.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bolechem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malachei Hamlachim. השלום, מלאכי עליונים, מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליונים, מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליונים, מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליונים, מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, מלאכי
invite Nico to come forward this time and ask you all to please rise for the words of Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitzgadal ve'yitzkadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divarach yirutei v'yamlich malhutei. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei zechu beit Yisrael. B'gala uv'izman karib ve'imaru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yitaleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudasha barichu le'olam min kol birchata Veshirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran belma ve'imaru amen.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach
I'll invite you to please be seated. So with every bar and bat mitzvah student, we say, please project and please go slow. And every once in a while, like every 10 years, a student comes along who projects and goes slow, and you're all sitting there thinking, well, 10:30 tomorrow morning, I'm coming to Nico's service because she's so awesome. I know, right? Well, amazing. She's just terrific. I just told her she could be a rabbi or a cantor. Mom, I'm thinking. Okay. We continue together with the words of Ma'ariv Aravim.
Yai rai 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 rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai rai rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv aravim mariv aravim bechokma poteach shaharim b'tbuna mishaneh hitim umachaliv et hazmatim umsader et hakochavim b'mishrerotehem barakia kirsono. Yai rai 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 rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. Borei yom v'layla kol elon mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or ma'avir yom u'mevi'im layla mabdil ben yom u'ben layla Adonai tzivot shemo. Yai rai 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 rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. Yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Nico's going to join us again and lead us in the words of Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, ulechtecha b'derech, uvshofpecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzaiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
So our next prayer that Lisa and I have been doing together sometimes is a blend of Debbie Friedman's Micha Mocha. Well, actually, it's two Debbie Friedman songs, correct? It's the Micha Mocha and it's her song of Miriam's song, At the Shore of the Sea. And we celebrate Miriam because she's one of the few female characters in Torah who is named. And so we might have a very 2021 reaction to that and feel like, from sort of a feminist perspective, why is it that there are not more women who are named female protagonists in Torah? But if we really pay attention to the social reality of the time, it's amazing how many women are named in Torah. And Miriam, like so many of the women that we do encounter, are really pivotal in pushing our story along. That while they may fleet in and out of the story, if it weren't for them, the story wouldn't have momentum. So Miriam really engages us, not just in celebration upon the shores of the sea, but challenges us to think about some of the elements of our own moral code. Miriam is the one who, in a slip, defiles the identity of Moses' wife, who looks different than everybody else, and she's punished as a result, and causes us to think about the way we speak about others and the karma we put out into the universe. So sometimes our female characters are not always moving the story along because their qualities are perfect and exemplary, but in fact cause us to pause and recognize we're all imperfect. And there are things to learn along the way about how we can be better. So Miriam we celebrate because she, like Jacob, who we'll speak about a little bit later tonight, reminds us that there's always room for improvement, and we are only human, and there is much to strive for with each new day. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'eli Madonna, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot posefele, nora tehilot posefele. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Mi chamocha ba'eli Madonna, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot posefele, nora tehilot posefele. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
So just taking a moment here in our service to ask if there are any birthdays or anniversaries that we might be celebrating this month. Does anybody have a November birthday or anniversary? Yeah, Ron, I know you have a November birthday. You have to come forward. Sorry, we have to bless you. Anybody else with a November birthday or anniversary? I could look you up in Shul Cloud. So plus, Ron is so nice, and you don't want to leave him standing up here by himself. Nobody else has a November anniversary or birthday or something great in November? Regina. Good job. Come on down. Yep. It's a big weekend. It's not this weekend, though, is it? Okay, next. Excellent. Anybody else with a November birthday or anniversary? No? Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, we always love to celebrate Simchas because those are worth celebrating. And so we say, Adonai, we are grateful for another year of life and love and good health. We ask that you bestow gifts upon these two very lovely, beautiful humans, gifts of patience, wisdom, compassion, and understanding. We ask that, God, you grant them yet another year of health and life that we may celebrate with you once again. You'll have to come back. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, God, for granting us love and for granting us life. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Our next prayer continues that blessing for Ron and Regina, that they may have good health, long life, joy and celebration, and protection. Sukkot Shlomecha.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomrenu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake in morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
It's not an uncommon story that some of us have to tell and that many of us have heard, which is, oh, gee, I grew up and did not enjoy going to services. And I grew up going to a very classical Reformed synagogue in Los Angeles, and I really did not enjoy going to services. And I didn't have a connection with the rabbi or the cantor, and the choir was hidden behind something, and all we saw were these pipes coming out, and I didn't know where the voices were coming from. And it wasn't until I was a student in college that I really connected with a synagogue and a rabbi, and the cantor there was Cantor Jeffrey Klepper. I've told Lisa this story before, and really that was the first time I felt what I think we all feel always with Lisa, which is this sort of spiritual enlightenment that comes with incredible music. And I was moved, often very emotionally, to tears, just listening to Cantor Klepper sing a Misha Berach or any number of pieces in the liturgy. And so I love that this next piece that Lisa's going to lead us in, which is the prayer of Yismechu, reminds us that Shabbat is not just a day of rest, but a day of celebration and joy and happiness. But that it is a composition by Rabbi Cantor Klepper, and I love that it's one that you offer us as well.
Yismechu v'malchucha, shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchucha, v'korei oneg. Yismechu v'malchucha, shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchucha, v'korei oneg.
rise for tefillah.
Adonai sefer tiftach ufiagi tehilatecha.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishene afar michamocha ba'al givurot umidom melach melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
These next few moments are for your own silent prayer. Please feel free to find your seat when you've completed it.
Of my mouth to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yihu l'ratzon imrei fi והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yihu l'ratzon imrei fi והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai צורי וגואלי, Adonai צורי וגואלי.
We think of those in our community in need of healing on the Shabbat. We think of Steve Geringer, Paul Richter, Crystal Miller, Charlie Baugh, Dick Eskind, Steve Gould, Bibi Weinstein, Alex Morgan, Bill Drongowski, Edria Ragusin, Janice Grossman, Jill Gutnicht, Florence Saperstein, Mike Harris, Alan Mandel, Caitlin Kopelman, Michael Groh, Karen Coltonow, Jessica Waldron, and Tara Sprott. If I've not mentioned a name you'd like to include, please say the name at this time.
Susan Burdine, Homer Truman.
Please join us in a prayer of healing.
Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days. Elna, refana lanu. Elna, refana lanu. Restore our strength of body. Help clarify our mind. Refresh our tired spirit. Rejuvenate our lives. Elna, refana lanu. Elna, refana lanu. Thank you for all these blessings. Throughout our days and nights. We celebrate the journey. This precious gift of life. Elna, refana lanu.
So if you think about it, the world can be divided into twos, many different ways, up and down, liberals and conservatives, or as my teenage boys would say, Titans fans and everybody else. The dichotomies are nearly endless. And in my years in the rabbinate, I've observed that by and large, most people can also be divided at least one other way. Those who believe that everything happens for a reason, and those who do not. Now, you don't have to answer out loud, but think for just a moment. Let me take this off. Which are you? Do you believe that everything in your life is predetermined? Do you believe in fate and destiny? The good, the bad, the challenges, and the celebrations, are they all part of some master plan in which you are an actor but not a director? Now, I know many people that believe that way, and I admire their depth of belief, even if it differs by degree from my own. Personally, it's not how I think all of this works. I say differs by degree because I do believe that everything happens for a reason. But where others might say the reason is God and some master plan, my explanation is the reason is more local. It's more personal. The reason that everything happens, I'm going to guess Avi's going to agree with me, is you. To explain, I believe in cause and effect, that what we do has consequences, and that what we put into the world for good or for ill remains there and will often come back to us. Now, this does not explain why tornadoes skip over some houses on a path of destruction, or why those very dear to us are stricken with pain and illness. I'm not talking about controlling the randomness that is part of our natural world. Faith exists in part to help us find meaning. Faith, you exist to help us find meaning in the randomness of nature. One of the great insights and comforts that Judaism offers us is the commandment to bless life, to love deeply, and to not focus on the whys of life, but instead divine meaning from the whats. My response that the reason for everything that happens can be found within us is to make the point that the attainment or lack of wealth, prosperity, education, companionship, that some may place in God's hands, our tradition places squarely in ours. Put more succinctly, Judaism teaches time and again that what goes around does come around. You want good? It says do good, and good will find you. You want bad, and no one really wants bad, but do bad, and bad will find you. Not as a punishment or reward from the heavens, lo bashamayim hi, we read on Yom Kippur morning. The reward is not in the heavens. The reward or the punishment is in the doing. Now, such is the experience of Jacob in our Torah portion this week. In last week's Parsha, Toldot, Jacob deceives his father by dressing as his brother Esau to receive the birthright and blessing of his father Isaac. And with that blessing, Jacob inherits the mantle of the leadership of the covenant. But in this week's portion, Vayetze, Jacob is the one who's deceived. When Esau finds out what Jacob has done, he is filled with rage, and he threatens to kill his brother. And so Jacob flees to the home of his uncle Laban in the land of Haran. And while working for his uncle, Jacob falls in love with Laban's younger daughter, Rachel. That's how it worked in the ancient Near East. And so he agrees to work 7 years in his uncle's employ to earn the right to marry Rachel. And on the wedding night, Laban switches daughters, substituting his elder daughter, Leah, for Rachel. We'll have a sermon on parenting another night. Jacob is now deceived, as was his father Isaac, when he discovers that he has been with Leah on his wedding night and not Rachel. He agrees then to work an additional 7 years for Rachel. Now, my colleague, Rabbi Denise Egger, points out that while this might appear to be a story of great love and devotion of Jacob to earn the hand of Rachel, and okay, it may be, it's also touching on this idea of what goes around comes around. The one who deceived his father is now deceived, and Jacob learns a very valuable lesson. He doesn't like the tricks and the deception, and he learns that they have lifelong consequences. The deceptive actions that Jacob put into the world have come back to him, and this time he's on the receiving end, and it doesn't feel very good. Affirming again Hillel's golden rule, don't do to another that which you would not done to yourself. But when we look a bit more closely at both stories, last week and this week, there's a second and still even deeper lesson from Jacob's deception. One has to ask the inevitable question, were Isaac and then Jacob both really unwittingly deceived, or were they the reason for their own deception? The rabbis debate this. Even though Isaac was blind, he alludes to the fact that he recognizes Jacob's voice even under the hairy arms that feel like Esau. He says the hands are the hands of Esau, but the voice is the voice of Jacob. And our rabbis teach that Isaac knew it was Jacob, but would not allow himself to believe that his son would deceive him at such a critical time as his deathbed blessing to his son. And so he doesn't push the question, who are you? Because he doesn't want to know the real answer. And what about Jacob on his wedding night? I mean, was he really tricked by the veil that hid his bride's face? Leah was brought to the wedding chamber, and where was the questioning that Jacob we come to know from his dreams and struggles with the angel? Right? Did he not know his beloved's voice or her body? Like his father before him, he did not want to believe that he could be so deceived on such a sacred occasion as his wedding night. And these questions in our portion help frame our questions and teach us a lesson. Because sometimes we are the source of our own deception. Sometimes when the truth will not lead to the outcome that we desire, we tell lies and we make up stories. We deal dishonestly with others and we deal dishonestly with ourselves. These acts of self-deception that later bear poisonous fruit because we become the victim of our own misdeeds. We tell ourselves we can work 60-hour weeks without it having an impact on our family or our personal well-being. We tell ourselves that we have thicker skin and a stronger constitution than we actually do, and that then those feelings we have tamped down for so long, they boil over when we and others have been conditioned not to expect it. We tell ourselves we're not jealous or vain, or lonely, or afraid, or tired, but we can be all those things because they're human emotions and we are human, though we deceive ourselves to think that we are not. Everything happens for a reason, the Torah reminds us, and sometimes that reason is us. But there's still a third lesson from the example of Jacob. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One good deed, one righteous act leads to another. If the reason for everything that happens is us, then we can be the source of goodness and healing and blessing in our own lives and the lives of others. Now, at the beginning of next week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, Jacob and Esau reunite. Now, Jacob is in fear for his life because he knows the hurt and anger that he caused his brother, stealing his birthright, his inheritance, his blessing. And he prays to God that Esau will not harm his family. And he sends gifts out in advance of their meeting in the hopes of appeasing the anger that he assumes is raging within his brother Esau. And for the first time, Jacob thinks of others before he thinks of himself. For the first time, Jacob is honest with himself and reflects on the potential consequences of his misdeeds. And when the two brothers are reunited, Esau rides up on his camel, surrounded by his army of hundreds of well-armed men. And Jacob is like sure he is done for. He separates his family so some might be spared. He bows low to the ground before his brother as he rides up. And Esau, seeing all of this, seeing how Jacob cares for his family, seeing how repentant he is for his misdeeds, he leaps down and he runs up to Jacob and he kisses him and he hugs him. He returns the bribes his brother tried to give him, and instead he gives gifts to Jacob and to Jacob's family. And why does Esau do this? Why not lash out in anger and seek retribution? Because Jacob was honest. Because he showed that he had grown and learned to care for others and not only himself. And he put that out into the world, and through Esau, it came back to him. One good and righteous deed inspired another. Everything does indeed happen for a reason, and the reason Jacob was kissed and not killed by his brother was that he was honest with himself and dealt honestly with others. And surely we too can learn this lesson this Shabbat. Surely we too can recognize that if what goes around comes around, then honesty is not only the best, but really the only policy. Shabbat Shalom. So I would like to take a moment before we continue with Aleinu, and even though it's not today, it was this week, but I would like to honor our veterans. I know we have at least one, but we may have more. If you are a veteran, would you please join us on the bima in front of the ark? We'll invite everybody to please rise. We'll ask our veterans to come forward. Veterans, we're going to have you come stand in front of our ark. Oh, good, we have such a nice number. Come on over. We have plenty of room. You can go ahead and fill in. You can come to the other side of the ark as well. Men and women have been called to serve our country, and we ask tonight, as we do at all times, that God watch over them on the ground, in the air, and in the heart of the seas. We ask that they be kept safe, that they be blessed with courage and compassion, with wisdom and might, and with God's holy light. And we ask that our fellow Americans in the military be agents of peace, and that it rain down from the heavens like a mighty storm, washing away hatred and bloodshed. Tonight, we at Micah are grateful for the many Americans and the many Jewish Americans who serve in our military. Their efforts and example help advance the cause of freedom and provide hope for people around the world. We as Jews stand tall and proud of you, our Jewish soldiers, and your accomplishments as veterans of past service and as current participants in our country's armed forces. It is our sacred duty to honor and remember those who try to bring God's sheltering presence to the world through their service to our country. May God's presence continue to be with all of you who have given yourselves to serve in our armed forces. And for those who have fallen, please God, gather them into your eternal shelter where there is no hatred, no pain, and no war, where there is just peace. Together we say, Amen. Amen. And we offer you this blessing.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
God bless you all and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
God's blessing shine upon you and through you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may you always know the greatest gift. It's the gift of peace and of wholeness. And once again, we thank you so much for your service. Together we say one last time. Amen. We join together in the words of Aleinu. We'll ask you just to stay while we say Aleinu together.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, la'teit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyeh haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We think of those whose yard sites fall on the Shabbat: Ann Pink, Sydney Holab, Charlene Krahili, Neora Ruth Flansman, Howard Blattner, Suzanne Levy, Mrs. Carolyn O'Neill, June Cooper, Miss Sadie F. Adelson, Lena Itzkowitz, Richard Todd Saylor, and Ralph Urbano. We continue honoring the memory of Lois Hershkowitz, Bruce Goldstein, Jerry Lee Kopelman, and Anita Ray Head. If I've not mentioned the name of a loved one you'd like to include in our mourner's cottage, please do so at this time. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of our loved ones be every day for us a blessing. Amen. Just a few announcements. You're welcome to be seated if you like. Hanukkah is oddly almost upon us. Everything's early this year. So Hanukkah begins, first night is the Sunday of right after Thanksgiving. We have a lot going on here at Micah, something almost every night. Please visit our Hanukkah page on our website. So you just go to the Congregation Micah website and you'll see a Hanukkah page. Torah study is always tomorrow morning. At 9 o'clock, it's on Zoom. And of course, the bat mitzvah of the amazing Nico Manis will begin at 10:30, and we hope you'll join us for that. That's in person. It's also live streamed through our website. Religious school is at 9:30 on Sunday, and it's the third installation of the Jewish parenting class with me and with Julie Greenberg. We are tackling the difficult subject of anti-Semitism in our community and in our schools. So if you know of parents who are dealing with this issue and looking for resources and common community, please feel free to send them 10:15 in the chapel Sunday morning. Mahjong continues on Tuesday at 12:30. Rejuvenation, we are almost done with that class, but it's Tuesday night at 6 p.m. That's virtual. Rabbi Ethan Frenzel continues, I think, his third session of equanimity and contemplative practice, how Jewish spirituality brings mindfulness, balance, and wholeness to our lives. That class, you do not have to have taken the first two to take the third, so you're welcome to join in. It's Wednesday evening, again, virtual. It's on the adult education page on our website. Shmooze and Views, as always, at 10:30 on Thursdays. Women's Circle, the last one of 2021, will be a week from today. We welcome the head of the Judaic Studies Department at Vanderbilt, Allison Schachter. She is also a Yiddishist, and it's going to be a really fun hour together with Allison. So I hope that you'll join for that. And Micah Mini's on Zoom a week from tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. So really nothing happening here. We hope you're bored. And please note that our Micah office will be closed for Thanksgiving from the 24th to the 26th, but of course we will have Shabbat services and Torah study in the morning and all the good stuff. So lastly, and most importantly, first of all, I love this community. Our families that we were assigned from Jewish Family Service to buy gifts for Hanukkah, we've already bought all the gifts. They went in like 90 minutes. So great for us. That was amazing. But we do have a December social action drive. We will be collecting cooking oil for the Nashville Food Project. And that may seem like a strange thing, but one, Hanukkah oil. Two, food pantries get all sorts of donations, but people don't think about cooking oil. And it's really the base for everything. We want people cooking and cooking healthy meals, and they need cooking oil to do it. So that is what we are collecting for the Nashville Food Project. Feel free to please bring in your cooking oil, obviously unopened, anytime to the office between Tuesday and Friday, 9 to 4. That is the end of my announcements. And
You have an imaginary Kiddush.
we have an
tonight.
imaginary Kiddush cup. But we've been making imaginary Kiddush anyway, so we'll just not pretend about imaginary Kiddush tonight.
That's right.
But here's the good news. We're hopeful, with the way the trends are going, that we might be able to take off our masks and drink real Kiddush real soon. Right, Dr. Baum? He's not going to rule on that at this moment because he's on Shabbat, so it's his moment of rest. But we are going to close with a closing song. That's what we're going to do.
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's do it.
Join us with a little Oh Say Shalom. Oh Say Shalom. Bimroma Ruya. Oh Say Shalom. Hallelujah. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimaru. Amen. Oh say shalom bimroma, ruya say shalom aleim. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimaru. Amen. Oh say shalom bimroma, ruya say shalom aleim. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimaru. Amen. Oh say shalom bimroma, ruya say shalom aleim. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimaru. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.